Come on and wake up. Listen to your heart now. See what's going on. We can make it together.
Welcome back. This is Tia Turnbull of Champion of Champions Coaching, and you're watching Keep It 100, creating emotionally safe space while we shelter in place. Today, I'm talking about transference. Have you ever heard of anyone, or yourself for that matter, who seems to keep getting in the same relationship over and over and over, just with different people? They keep doing the same things, they keep acting the same way, and they keep seeming to choose the same kind of person in their life. Though it's not working, they keep choosing that same kind of person. The eyes can see, the senses can take in from 11 million to 40 million bits of information. Well, what that information does is it goes straight in to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious stores all that information. Whereas the conscious mind, it can only take a little piece of that, 40 bits out of 11 to 40 million. The conscious mind takes 40 bits and actually processes that consciously, makes choices, conscious choices and decisions about that. So that very little piece out of all that stuff is conscious. So in our experience when we're growing up, all this stuff is happening, and we're taking in all this information and all this experience, and we're hearing things and we're seeing things and we're feeling things, and all that information, all the emotions and all the drama, and everything is happening, and it's going in and getting stored in this huge storage system called the subconscious mind. It's getting stored in our body. All the emotions and feelings and thoughts that we're thinking, all that stuff gets stored, okay? But we can only process 40 bits of that millions at a time. So we're not consciously aware of most of that information. And we're taking that information and we're creating our self-identity with it. And we're creating who we are in relation to the people around us. Whether we're having somebody's more powerful than us and we're less powerful, or whether we have to do things for other people, or whether they're doing things for us, or whether we're more powerful than them. All that stuff that's flying around that we're making up gets stored inside our bodies, inside our subconscious mind, all the memories that we're holding and experiences that we're holding. That we create a self-identity out of all that stuff. Okay. But we're not really consciously aware of most of it. So, what happens is, when you meet someone and they seem familiar to you, and you're like, wow, we had so much chemistry. It was like I met my soulmate. And you don't really know why, but you're very, very, very attracted to that person. And that person seems very familiar to you, and you don't know why that is either. Well, it's because that information that got stored in there that you're not consciously aware of, all that stuff is vibrating and saying, yes, 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 this is the person I want to have in my life, because all this stuff inside me is telling me this is the one. All right. So we're calling it soulmate or chemistry. We had great chemistry. All right. And then, 8 months down the road, we're pulling our hair out wondering why we ever chose this person. Okay, so what's happening there is that our system of survival wants us to rectify old pains and old hurts, and wants us to get past the past, and wants us to have a new self-identity based on the experiences we're having in the moment. And we want to ensure ourselves that we're not that same little kid who got stepped on or whatever, who got yelled at or who got used or abused or whatever. We want to ensure that we're not that anymore. So what our subconscious is doing is attracting us to people that are similar, not the same, but there's something about them that's familiar, that reminds us of the people in our past that we need to change those relationships with, that we need to rectify those relationships with. So we pick someone that has some kind of similar quality to someone who we want to change that relationship with. Okay, so then we get with them, and what we do is something that's called transference. Okay, so we take that new person that's standing in front of us, and then we grab that memory from inside ourselves, from that past event that we want to rectify, so we can self-identify as a more powerful person than whatever happened, the experience in the past. And we take that memory and we slop it on the face of the new person. So basically, if you took a photograph of someone that you had an experience with that you didn't like and you want to change, you stick that photograph on the face of the new person, and then you talk to them as if that is the person from your past. And you actually replay the role that you're in. You feel the feelings, you feel the fear, or you feel the powerlessness. You feel that while you're interacting with this person. So the transference is transferring someone else onto the new person. Okay. The therapist is trained to notice when transference is happening. All right. And there's a couple of ways that the therapist can notice that transference is happening. Okay. One is they start feeling like they're supposed to do something, like they're getting pushed into this corner where they're supposed to be acting in a particular way. They can feel some kind of a pull towards reacting to this person in a particular way. All right. So one way is, there's actually two things the therapist can do with that. Okay. So if the therapist is skilled and they notice that they seem to be getting put into this box, that it's not me, it feels like you're looking at me as if I'm somebody else who did something to you, which I know could not have been me, but I can see this is happening. So the therapist can choose to let it happen. The therapist can choose to be that blank slate and let this person say all the things they needed to say and act all the ways they needed to so they can figure out what's going on for them, so they can get it up and they can let it out. And then you could talk about it and say what happened, and them seeing the therapist as the old person brings up that stuff that they need to say, and then it associates in their mind, because those memories are in there. It will come up for you and you'll say, oh my gosh, I just had this memory of my dad, or I just had this memory of my brother or my sister, or something happened. And then the therapist can listen to that, and then you can think about it, and you realize, wait, this is not my dad, this is not my brother, this is not my sister, this is a therapist, right? But I needed to use them for that moment to help me to bring that stuff up. That's why it's good for a therapist to kind of be a blank slate and not add a bunch of stuff to interfere with the person's own process. Then that person can bring it up to their consciousness and talk about it and say, this happened, and what I made up about that is that I don't have any power, or what I made up about is that I am stupid, or what I made up about that is, whatever it is that they self-identified based on that past experience. And that when you're arguing with someone, a lot of times they're not really arguing with you. They're arguing with someone from their past, and you're like, why are you saying this to me? It's crazy, right? It's because they're reliving an old story slapped onto your face and vice versa. So this is not crazy. It's not a crazy thing. It's what our minds, our brains, our subconscious has us do, so we can bring stuff up and clear it and make up new stories about it. We can make up new identities. We can decide something different, because we're not powerless anymore. But I understand that I act this way with people because I felt powerless back then, or whatever it was I felt, fearful, or whatever it is. And I get that that's not who you are. I get that that's just what I'm pasting on your face. All right, and that's why a person who does not get conscious with whatever relationship they're in is going to repeat it with another and another and another, and then they keep repeating it, because something inside them needs to rectify it. Something inside them needs to get over it. Something inside them needs to identify themselves new, not from that old experience they had, where they're not placing themselves in this particular role in a relationship that's not serving them. So they have to keep replaying it until they figure it out. And they say, look, I keep choosing the same person. Why? What is it I'm needing right here with this person? Okay, now